चलो, so come back to तमिलनाडु. हाँ, so have you read today's newspaper? The Hindu पढ़ा है आज का? आप पेपर कब सुबह नहीं पढ़ते पेपर क्या? रात में पढ़ते हो? So anyway, अभी तो हाँ ही बोलोगे, पता नहीं पढ़ोगे रात में या अगले हफ्ते पढ़ोगे. So in the magazine, that is the supplement, we have today an interview of David Shulman. David Shulman is an Israeli person. He is a professor in Hebrew University, and he is also a very well-known Tamil scholar. I have his book, a biography, written I think 15-17 years ago. Fantastic book. So he has taught a lot. मतलब that book for the first time told me, अच्छा तमिल का history ऐसे ऐसे चलता था. और it is very complicated for outsiders to understand कि बोल क्या रहे हैं, because they don't even agree amongst themselves what is the viewpoint. So for outsider to even agree to basic minimum structure is not easy to understand. But anyway, see, Tamil is a classical language. What is a classical language? What is India has so many languages. Which of them should be or would be categorized as classical? What is the criteria of calling any language? Hindi classical क्यों नहीं है? बताइए. Hindi is not a classical language. Tamil है क्यों? अच्छा, ancient एक good point. It has to be very old. Hindi is 1000 साल भी नहीं हुए हिंदी को. So one thing is very old. Then grammar rules is a kind of good proxy. You are right, but not only grammar rules. It has to be. It has to have its own literature. Not only folk, but written. So one thing is it's old, it's age, but not only age. Then tribal language would be classical. Right? So age is necessary, but not sufficient criteria. For sufficiency, you need to have its own literature, and not only oral, but written, composed, compiled. And when you say literature, because it brings you an aesthetic viewpoint with itself. So it should have its own original aesthetic viewpoint. And that you get to know of Tamil from Sangam literature. Sangam literature नहीं होता, तो तमिल का classical होना मुश्किल था. So Tamil is actually as old as Sanskrit, if not older, as old at least. And if in Sanskrit the oldest literature we have is Vedas, then in Tamil the oldest literature we have is Sangam. Both of them are poems, but if you compare them, there is a difference. Possibility है कि Vedas are at least 1000 years older than Sangam. That is fine. Veda और पुराने 1000 साल से कोई बात. But compare तो करो. When you compare, what do you find? Vedas are literature of a religion, religious literature. Sangam literature is not religious. It is secular. It may have some poems about some gods, that is fine. But it is not a literature of rituals. कैसे यज्ञ करे, हवन करे, पूजा करे, उसके बारे में नहीं है. It is about common people. The second difference, the Vedas are composed only by Brahmanas. They are male, female, many people, okay, but only Brahmanas. In Sangam literature, you have people of all backgrounds. They are Brahmanas, yes. 30-35% people are Brahmins, but other people are others. There are women also, there are kings and queens also. So you have an entire cross-section of society who comes together and composes Sangam literature. So the word Sangam literally means confluence. And in the context of Tamil language, it is actually the assembly of Tamil poets. Now, according to Tamil legend, there are 3 Sangams that were held. One at Madurai, old ancient Madurai. Other is Kapatapuram or Kapadapuram. And third again is at Madurai. Madurai was the capital of Pandya kings. Now, the legend tells us a long timeline. 9,000, 10,000 साल चला. सैकड़ों कवि आए और सैकड़ों राजा थे. This is all historical. We don't believe in those numbers. But we can believe in that बहुत बड़ा था, बहुत पुराना था, बहुत लोग थे. That is okay. So in essence, they are indicating correct things. Exact numbers are not very logical, which is fine. The Kapadapuram, if you ask me where is Kapadapuram, there is no Kapadapuram today. Now, if you ask a Tamilian, he would believe in some kind of theory, possibly. In south of Kanyakumari, there was a bigger land. Lemuria and all those things will start coming up. So, again, they have not been accepted as part of history because civilizational history is quite recent than the geological history. But we don't need to go there. But these are the 3 Sangams in which poets came together. राजा ने बुलाया, आमंत्रण दिया कि आओ चलो कविता करते हैं. and these poets composed poems, they were compiled later on. Sangam poem ho gaya. Now, historically, this legend seems inaccurate. Most historians believe that Sangam literature was probably compiled between 6th and 7th century CE. So, composition is quite older. Compilation is in Pallava era. So, in Pallava era, these Sant jo the sare, Alavar, Nainar saints went from village to village to village to village, and they collected all these poems and then compiled them, put them in format. Tab tak they were in folk memory for hundreds and hundreds of years. Right? That is one thing. So compilation in Pallava era, composition quite earlier. How quite early? How much early? We don't know. If you are a North Indian, you would say, हम सबसे पुराने हैं. Sanskrit is the oldest language. That is a general tendency of North Indians to believe. So they would push the dates ahead by 200 BC, 100 BC, 0, उसके आगे लेके जाओ थोड़ा. That is the general effort of North Indians. Southern people are exactly हम सबसे पुराने, हम बुद्धा के इतने पुराने, हम वेदों के इतने पुराने. So they will take it back to hoary antiquity. The point is that it cannot be proven. We don't know. The authors at that time did not leave the dates. How can we? Veda की date पता नहीं हमें, इसके भी नहीं पता. What can we do? There is an entire industry in the Western universities across the world of Tamilians who keep producing papers after papers based on some kind of theory they would create. हमने dates identify कर लिए. 300-400 BC, 600 BC, 800 BC. Now, again, that and this Sangam era is so much deeply rooted in the identity politics of Dravidian politics today that it's a political idea also to push it back. And it's a political idea in the Hindi walas to push it ahead. तो ये टसल चलता रहता है. हम डेटिंग में जाएंगे ही नहीं. We can't go. Historians don't know. How can we know? But what we can tell for certain is that the majority of the poems, I'm not saying all, majority of the poems belong to the post-Mauryan era. Some of the poems may be even older than post-Mauryan. They could be Mauryan or even Mahajanpad era. Possibly, we don't know. But majority of the poems are from post-Mauryan era. So by and large, Sangam literature can be taken as representative of the society of the post-Mauryan era. So 200 BCE से लेके 300 CE, 500 साल की बात कर रहे हैं, उसी की बात हम करेंगे. Now recently what has happened, as I told yesterday, that news are coming gradually that Tamil Nadu state government has started to fund the local ASI body and they are now excavating Kiladi, Shivakashi and all other places, and they are finding some elements which are dated to be 6th century BCE, 8th century BCE. So possibility of taking date back is now there. It can be verified, corroborated with the help of hard evidence. But again, it is at the level of research. So let us stay with NCERT. हमारे लिए संगम era chapter falls in post-Mauryan era. Okay. Subject matter of the poem. Now these poems, किसके बारे में कविताएं हैं ये? संगम poetry. Nature is bardic and or bardic मतलब क्या है? शाहिर. मतलब क्या है? Yes, hero, वीर गाथा, bard. And we have oral. They are created orally, consumed and listened orally. It means वो तुरंत बनाई, तुरंत समझी, उस तरह कविता है. So when we have oral literature, it comes with stock phrases. I don't know how much of you understand literature, but oral poetry is generally जो शीघ्र कविता होती है, वो बैठ के घिस के ये शब्द डालूं या वो शब्द डालूं. Should I use this metaphor or that? वैसे नहीं काम करती. You need to have ready-made stocks of ideas and conventions. You just draw upon them and create poetry suddenly. That is oral culture. So therefore, Sangam poetry is bardic and oral. It draws from that well-defined repository of conventions, which we have to study today. ठीक है?
Exactly like debates.
Not debates. We'll come to know. Wait for some time. Not about debates.
Like as you have to have vocabulary and study.
So,
but typically debates as
okay, yeah, you can say that. So yes, correct. That is the correct analogy then. So you have ready-made metaphors, ready-made associations, ready-made similes. You just mix and match and create a nice poem. So the conventions are already set. This literature depicts the political, economic, social and cultural life of Tamil region during Sangam age. Now, there are the three Sangams, first Sangam, second Sangam, third Sangam. The places Madurai, Kapadapuram, Madurai. President was Agastya Tolkapiyar, Nakkirar, and they have their own book Agatyam, Tulkappiyam and Nedunal Vadai. Now the point is that the first Sangam is completely gone. Not a single word from that has survived. So Agastya and Agastyam has not survived. We don't know what the book is. It is just mentioned the name of the book. It is gone. Historically, second Sangam is also gone. Not a single thing has survived from second Sangam. As per historians, as per tradition, Tolkappiyar comes from second Sangam. Historians consider it came from third Sangam. Tradition consider from second Sangam. And whatever today has survived, A to Z, everything that primarily comes from the third Sangam. Okay? So when we say Sangam literature, what do we mean? Literature that has survived, which is coming from third Sangam only. Okay? But tradition would say that Tolkappiyam is available from second Sangam. Parampara कहती है. Now, what is this Sangam literature? So I have put Sangam literature here, and after Sangam era, we have something called as post-Sangam era. So this is the post-Sangam literature. साथ में देख लेते हैं क्या क्या है. I will not go in details because you will not be able to remember them anyway. ठीक है? So we have 18 major works, and then you have 18 minor works. So 18 major works, Padinen, Mel, Kanakku. Padinen is 18, Mel is major, Kanakku is work. 18 major works and 18 minor works, Padinen, Kil, Kanakku. Am I pronouncing correctly? Thoda thoda. Okay. So Padinen, Kil, Kanakku. 18 minor works. Now our concern here is 18 major works, Sangam literature. They have 10 long poems, Pattu Pattu, and 8 anthologies. Anthology is collection of poems. So one anthology would have many poems in it. Kavita Sangraha is anthology. So we have 8 anthologies, Ettutto Koi, and 10 long poems, Pattu Pattu. So 10 लंबी कविता है और 8 कविता संग्रह है, मिल के बनता है Padinen Mel Kanakku. And then we have another book which is not of this 18 but completely separate, that is Tolkappiyam. Tolkappiyam is the first and the oldest available grammar work. The author is grammar work in oldest in Tamil, by the way, not in Sanskrit, in Tamil. So author is Tolkappiyar, and it is a very important work. This book contains, interestingly, not only grammar but also poetics, Kavita Shastra. Generally, grammar work is not supposed to contain that. If you read Panini, he would talk about 2 things: शब्दों का उच्चार और व्याकरण, phonetics and syntax. Tolkappiyar does talk about phonetics and syntax both. He adds a third section, which is Porul, poetics. In Sanskrit, we have a separate book for poetics. अलग किताबें होती है छंद शास्त्र की, यहाँ पे इकट्ठा है. And it is that poetics which gives us an idea of how to read Sangam poetry. So the terms that we shall use now, which are Akam and Puram, Tinai, all these are the technical terms given to us by Tolkappiyar in the section Porul, that is poetics. ठीक है? तो ये हो गई कविता, ये हो गया कविता शास्त्र. तो शास्त्र का इस्तेमाल करते हैं, कविता पढ़ते हैं. But before that, we have other books here in the post-Sangam era. Let us get familiarized with them also for a moment. मौका मिल गया कर लेते हैं. So you have 18 minor works, Padinen, Kil, Kanakku. They are mostly ethical poetry, and many of them are Jain poems. Jainism has a huge impact on Tamil literature also, not only Telugu, Kannada and Marathi, but also Tamil. And one of the most popular of the 18 minor works is Tirukkural. What is Tiru? Tiru is Shri, and Tirukkural is Shri Kural. Kural is that poems. So the author is Tiruvalluvar. If you go to Kanyakumari, you have his great statue standing there, huge statue of Tiruvalluvar. It is called as Fifth Veda, Bible of Tamil Nadu, Tamil Land, etc. सब कुछ. जैसे उत्तर भारत हिंदी हार्टलैंड में इफ यू गो, हर एक के घर में आपको मिलेगी एक तुलसी रामायण. पढ़े ना पढ़े अलग बातें घर में होती है. Likewise, if you go to any Tamil house, generally you will find at least one copy of Tirukkural. इतना उसका इंपॉर्टेंस है. पढ़े ना पढ़े हर एक के अपने अपने ऊपर है. आपने पढ़ा है Tirukkural? Entirely. But a lot of it. And generally people use that in their daily words also. Quotation, aphorism, sutras, wisdom pearls. Anyway, क्या कर सकते हैं? So out of 18, total 6 are Jain poems, and the one poem, 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐬𝐭 𝐖𝐢𝐭, belongs to the Brahmanical school and is a digest of ideas from Dharma Shastras. So it also shows impact of the North Indian tradition. So you have this. Now, apart from these 18 minor works, in the post-Sangam era, you have two major epics. Now, generally, these epics should deserve much longer place than just 2 boxes, because they are very important. They are like Ramayana and Mahabharata, but they are not like Ramayana and Mahabharata. So they are not such kind of. So you have Silappadikraam and Mani Mekalai. These are the 2 epics, but the status is of Ramayana and Mahabharata in South India. The author of Silappadikraam is 𝐂𝐨𝐬𝐭 𝐖𝐢𝐭. He was a Chera prince, and then comes Mani Mekalai. The author is Satyanar. Generally, it is said that Silappadikraam is a love story, love triangle. Pati Patni or Wo. Right? And then you have Mani Mekalai, which is actually a sequel to Silappadikraam. अच्छा, यहाँ पे मैंने गलत लिख दिया. It continues the story of Silappadikraam. ठीक है. So Silappadikraam is, for example, your love story, and Mani Mekalai is anti-love story. I will not go into details, doesn't matter, because we don't have that kind of room here. But these are 2 important, very famous, and as an Indian, should know the story of them. कम से कम अमर चित्र कथा तो पढ़ लो उनकी यार. At least watch an episode from Bharat Ek Khoj. You have Kannagi going to Madurai, getting angry, burning city down. You have no idea all these stories, ना? पता नहीं किसी को ये कहानियां कुछ पता है? थोड़ा थोड़ा पता है, कुंचम कुंचम. ठीक है? Okay. Let us move on. After Silappadikraam, so you should know this. What you should memorize is that Silappadikraam है, Mani Mekalai है, उनके authors कौन है, and actors कौन है उसमें. बस. Let us go on. Let us come to Sangam poetry. अब हम Sangam poetry को खुल के थोड़ा पढ़ेंगे. This is the division of Sangam poem into 2 parts. One part is called Akam, and other part is called Puram. What is Akam or Agam? Interior, love, family. So generally it is translated as love poetry. It need not be actual love all the time. It is something that is domestic, relationship, अंदर वाली, घर वाली, private चीजें. Lagam. And Puram is something which is exterior, material world, war. Generally, it is translated as war poetry. So love and war, Akam and Puram, but it has multiple shades of meanings also. So every poem in the Tamil literature of Sangam is either Akam or Puram. So there are certain criteria. Which poem is to be called Akam and which poem is to be called Puram, उसके criteria होते हैं. So there are total 2,381 poems which are available. Today some are missing. The shortest poem is of only 3 lines, and the longest poem, the 10 long idylls, is of 800 lines. So of these total poems, almost 1800 poems are Akam, love poems, and 500 poems are Puram, war poems. That is at the mota moti level, poetry to poetry level. But if you go to book level, of the 18 books, you have 8 anthologies and 10 long books. Of the 8 anthologies, 5 are Akam, 2 are Puram, and 1 has mix of both. Some poems of Akam type, some poems of Puram type. Pari Patil. Pari Patil is important because it has a lot of poetry about Vishnu. Pari Patil. Agananuru, Purnanuru are very important. We'll see some poems also if we get some time on that. And if you go to 10 long idylls, 3 of them are Akam and 7 are Puram. Number रटने नहीं है. You are not supposed to memorize these numbers. You're supposed to understand the idea. What is Akam, what is Puram, that's all. Now, Akam is generally a woman's world. Look at, a woman is a protagonist who would start speaking. Poet speaks through the woman character's voice in Akam poem. So, which is that character that remains nameless? A poem is being spoken through the voice of generally a woman in Akam, and that woman is not named. अगर woman को नाम दे दोगे, इसका नाम निखिल है या जो कुछ है, then it automatically falls into Puram. The norm given by Tolkappiyar is that in Akam, the voice of the actor is not to be explained कौन है. But from the poem we get to know कि भाई क्या character है. So from the poem we get to know that 785 poems are being spoken by a girl. Then 550, not only girl but a heroine of the scene. 72 mothers, 51 concubines, and 400 are the ones in which you have either hero or one you can't identify कौन बोल रहा है. Poets पता है, ये poets की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ. These are not poets, these are the characters. On the other hand, in the Puram you have a world of heroes. Gruesome wars, attack, defense, kill, ये वो, दान धर्म सब कुछ उसमें है. So these are the two different worlds. So Akam Puram is the categorization of poetry. Then you go to next level, that is Tinai.
Puram will essentially have the name of people.
It may have.
It may.
Yes. If the theme is of a war, but the name is not given, it will still be Puram. Then you go to second element of understanding this poetry. That is the Tinai system. Tinai system is nothing but a kind of convention. That is where I come back to the idea of bards. Bardic poetry, oral poetry. Why? Because just stock phrase is created. That if you want to, in North India we have Navarasas. South India they have Tinai system. It is analogous to Navarasas. Navaras पता है? बताइए, which are Navarasas? Tell the nine rasas, names of them. Right, but in the sequence, Shrungara Veera Karunadbhuta Hasya Bhayanakaha Vivatsaraudrau Shantascha Ete Navarasa Mataha. 9 rasas are there. So they have their own conventions. If this is the emotion, how do you go? Likewise, here also you have conventions that you have some emotion, then that for emotion, what should be time and space allocated? कि रात में आदमी कारुण्यमय हो जाता है, तो करुणा दिखाना है, रात दिखाओ. You also have seed theme, deity, flora, fauna, drum, music, occupation, etc. It means वो character कहाँ पे रहेगा, what the character's occupation will be, what the gods he will praise, what kind of music he will listen to, what kind of flora and fauna would be around him. ये सब defined है for every emotion. जैसे क्लासिकल म्यूजिक में होता है, क्या चल रहा है सर आपका? ध्यान दो ना क्लास में प्लीज. ठीक है. So you have in classical music something called a samay achar, like Kedar rag, late night, Bhairavi, early morning. Why? Because the emotion vibes with that time. Similarly, here also you have that emotion, it vibes with certain cultural, ecological, biological setting. जैसे कि बंजर है, सब बंजर है, हम ढूंढने उसे फिर दो से चले. राइट, गाना तो है रहमान का, बड़ा प्यारा गाना है ना, बड़ा दिल खुश होता है गाना सुन के. नहीं होता खुश, दर्द आ जाता है. क्यों? बंजर नाम तो लिया, बंजर जमीन और वो इमोशन मैच होते हैं. Likewise, this is what Tinai system is. You have a poetry. In poems, you have to tell various emotions. It is an oral culture, so for those emotions, you have stocks ready. So they have this time and space, deity, flora, fauna, drum, music, occupation, all that. So essential theme, let us say love, secret love, anger, that would be essential theme. That is Uri. And for every Uri, you have predefined, associated all these things. So the moment you start with poetry, you paint a picture. एक दिन रात में, the moment you say रात में, रात की associated emotion आ गया आपके मन में as a listener, because you also know the conventions. एक बार मैं किसान की कहानी बताता हूँ. अब किसान के साथ कौन सी कहानी आएगी प्रीडिफाइंड ऑलरेडी है, कौन सी इमोशन की कहानी आएगी. ठीक है, तो जो कुछ है, मतलब वो उनके जो कन्वेंशंस बने हुए हैं. So that is the idea. That is how it becomes easier to create poetry and consume poetry. That is Tinai system. So what are all these Tinais? You have, for example, here, the table. You have 5 main Tinais: Kurunji, Mullai, Maduram, Naital, Palai. So these Tinais means you have associated everything with them. For Kurunji, the eco zone is hills, Parbat ke upar. For Mullai, it is dry pastures. Maduram or Marutam, fertile river valley. Naital, coastal region. And Palai, arid and scrubland. So let us take one example. Completely will understand what I am trying to say. Kurunji takes place on hills. On the hills, there are hunters and gatherers, and the emotion associated with that is clandestine meeting of lovers, chori chori chupke chupke. So if I want to tell a love poetry, that is 𝐂𝐭𝐿 poetry, and in my poem the emotion is that लड़का लड़की चुपके से, you are 16, I am 17, मिल रहे हैं, तो कहाँ मिल, वो लड़का लड़की कौन होंगे, वो होंगे हंटर गैदरर्स। कहाँ मिलेंगे, पर्वत के ऊपर। कौन सा ढोल बजाएंगे, कौन सा गाना गाएंगे, कौन सी भगवान की पूजा करेंगे, कौन सा जानवर आएगा, सब कुछ इसके आगे और कॉलम जुड़े हुए हैं, मैंने दिखाया नहीं, मतलब नहीं है हमें उससे, ठीक है, समझ गए। फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट अस टेक नेक्स्ट थिंग, यू हैव मधुरम और मरुतम। Tinai is this system, this idea is called Tinai. This is Tinai 1, these are names of Tinais, this entire thing is Tinai, these are 5 Tinais, ठीक है। एक Tinai called Maduram, in Maduram Tinai you have fertile river valley, गंगा के किनारे, here you have agriculture with plow and irrigation, so a story of a farmer, and if you want to tell a story of man's infidelity and wife is sulking, मतलब पति पत्नी और वो, let us say कुछ कुछ होता है, so कुछ कुछ होता है story, if you want to write in Sangam era, शाहरुख खान will be a farmer, right, then you come to know अच्छा ये emotion वहीं पे आएगी। So these are the preset, predefined conventions, in that you create poetry, am I right sir? That is the thing. Now sometimes you have, apart from 5 Tinais, other Tinai also, but they are very rare, so we don't go there. Extra Tinais also are there. This is for 𝐂𝐭𝐿. Similarly, you also have Tinais for Puram. Puram के लिए emotions अलग होंगे, so you have Vechi, Karantai, Kanchi, etc., etc., and the emotions here are not of love but of war. तो हमला किया, हमला वापस भेज दिया, खुद से किया, जीत लिए, ये सारे emotions. So if you want to tell story or poetry of these issues, then you go for these Tinais, and for these Tinais you have associated again everything, which is the geography, which is the people, which is the food, flora, fauna, god, occupation, everything.
सिस्टम की वजह से सोसाइटी में सब लोग
नहीं सिस्टम, हम, ये हमारा आज का मानना ये है कि चूंकि कविता लिखी जा रही है इस सिस्टम में, तो शायद समाज ऐसे होता होगा, ठीक है, बिकॉज लिटरेचर रिफ्लेक्ट्स सोसाइटी। कुछ भी करो आप, जैसे आप सिनेमा देखते हैं, यूपीएससी ने एक बार ऐसे पूछा था सिनेमा की हिस्ट्री के बारे में 10-15 साल पहले, देयर जनरली पीपल रोट ऐसे कि 1950s में सिनेमा ऐसा था, इंडिया को इंडिपेंडेंस मिला था, इन 70s 80s करप्शन था, लेफ्टिज्म था, ये था, तो एंग्री यंग मैन अमिताभ बच्चन आ गया, इन 1990 शाहरुख खान बिकेम एनआरआई। तो ये सब सिनेमा क्यों चेंज हो रहा है, बिकॉज सोसाइटी इज चेंजिंग एट दैट टाइम। सिनेमा, सो एनी आर्ट is a reflection of society. That is our basic presumption. We have to agree with that. If you don't agree, then we can't even go with any analysis here. So our presumption is that this system may have been there. So what we say is that in Tinai you get to know such geography, such gods. That is one thing. It is not exactly history, but reflects kind of social structure. Apart from that, especially in Puram, you have multiple wars, battles, kings, victories, capitals, attacks, and these are the real historians also, historical people also. नाम जो लिए हैं राजाओं के, असली राजा हुए थे। So we try to recreate history also from Puram poetry. From 𝐂𝐭𝐿, we don't get to know all this politics. So out of 2400, 1800 poems are love poems which don't tell us about politics at all. It is those 500 Puram poems which tell us about politics primarily. ठीक है? And in 1800 you have love, you have social structure, तो society के values वहां पता चलते हैं. You also have economy. तो इकोनॉमिक कौन से कमोडिटीज है, क्या है, दैट ऑल्सो यू गेट टू नो फ्रॉम देयर. अगर उसने लिखा है कविता में कि मैं एक बार किनारे पे बैठा था मुजिरिस के, एक दूर से एक काली नौका आई रोमन साम्राज्य से और बहुत बड़ा सोना लाद के आई थी और हम खुश हो गए. अब उसको इमेजिन होने के लिए उस जमाने में रोमन ट्रेड तो होगा, इंपोर्ट कमोडिटी सोना कभी न कभी देश में आया होगा, तो हम हिस्टोरियन के तौर पर लिखते हैं कि उस जमाने में रोमन ट्रेड था, सोना आता था. कौन से दिन कितना आया हमें नहीं पता. Is it clear? Pakka. So this is how we use literature to create history. We are not here for literature study. We are here for study of history. So let us understand history for some time. What all can we glean from that poetry? Now, literature to history जब transition होगा, तो कैसे होगा, उसके methods होते हैं. How do you extract history? आउट ऑफ लिटरेचर. उसके मेथड साइंटिफिक मेथड होते हैं. यू कैन नॉट जस्ट गेस, मुझे लग रहा है इसने बोला तो ऐसे होगा ना. देयर आर लॉजिकल साइंटिफिक डेवलप्ड मेथड्स ऑफ स्टडिंग लिटरेचर टू क्रिएट हिस्ट्री. दोज आर आउटसाइड आवर स्कोप. बट वंस दैट ऑल इज डन, तो मशीन के उस तरफ से जो बाहर आता है वो ये है, हम देखेंगे अब. तो पोएट्री वाज द इनपुट टू द ब्लैक बॉक्स and history is the output to the black box for us. Let us look at the output now. How was the society, polity, economy of that era? ठीक है. I always like to underscore that कि आपको क्या क्या नहीं पता ये मैं बताते रहता हूँ. सोक्रेटिस की बड़ी फेमस कहानी. सोक्रेटिस को किसी ने बोला, सोक्रेटिस आप दुनिया के सबसे महान पंडित हो. वो हंस पड़ा, मैं कहाँ पंडित, मैं कुछ नहीं जानता. अगर आप ये कहना चाहते हो कि दुनिया में वो इंसान मैं हूं जिसको पता है, जिसको कुछ नहीं पता, तो हाँ, तो फिर मैं पंडित हूं. आइंस्टाइन said himself once that what is knowledge? Knowledge is nothing but, उसने एक मस्त लाइन ली थी कि as the radius of your knowledge grows, so does the circumference of darkness surrounding it. अधिक जानना मतलब अधिक ये जानना कि हम क्या नहीं जानते. जितना आपको पता है कि आप क्या क्या नहीं जानते हो, वही आपका ज्ञान है. ठीक है. So that is what I keep doing कि black box बीच में है between literature and history that you don't know. Don't go there. So come to the other end of the black box. We have Sangam era polity. If you look at the map, do I have a map here? Yes, I have a map. So you have this ancient Tamil land, Tamilkam, Tamil Nadu. Nadu शब्द वहां पे था नहीं. It is called Tamilkam only at that time. So you have Chera on the western coast. Chera today has become Kerala. In south, we have Pandyas, and in north, we have Cholas. So, Chola, Pandya, Chera. So, this is a table. The region is Kerala region, northern Tamil Nadu, Kaveri. It should not be Kaveru, it's spelling mistake. Kaveri Delta. And southern Tamil Nadu. The capital of these regions were Vanji, Urayur, and Madurai. Madurai was the capital of Pandyas, where Sangam literature took place, Sangam poems took place. Now, they also had their ports, very famous ports for the oceanic trade, not coastal, but oceanic trade. For example, in Chera, we have Tondi and Muziris. Muziris is something which was unknown. We have found it in last 15-20 years. A place called Pattanam in Kerala. It was one of the biggest and the most important port on the western coast for centuries. और गायब हो गया. अभी अभी में मिला है वापस वो 20-15-20 साल पहले. गवर्नमेंट हैज नाउ क्रिएटेड अ म्यूजियम देयर. एनीवे, पुहार is also called as Pumpuhar, also known as Kaveri Pattinam. So it is also known as Kaveri Pattinam. Kaveri Pattinam. Now this port today is also vanished. Recently some news is coming that they have found, मतलब लगभग we know the area कहाँ पे होगा, but exact pinpointed location, what this was the port or that was the port, that we don't know. Maybe some people say, now it seems very logical also that in some tsunami it got underwater, so we have to have some kind of marine archaeology. Off the coast of Visakhapatnam, recently we have found some shipwrecks also. I don't know how much do you follow history news, but the marine archaeology department is there, which is now getting some funding, and there are some cities in India which are very important. You know, there is one more port in India at that time, in this Shunga Satavahana region, which is very important for global trade, which also got underwater later on, Dwarka. So Dwarka पता है पानी के अंदर है. Similarly, Puhar is just off the coast, certain kilometers underwater. Now we have perhaps located it, लेकिन वहां जाके सब निकाल के लाना आसान काम थोड़ी है. भारत सरकार है, चलेगा सदियों तक. So anyway, had we been some Roman civilization or something or Greek वगैरह, अब तक तो पूरा का पूरा वहां पे एसिड बन जाता. ठीक है. But anyway, Puhar is important port. If you go to Pandyas, you have Korkai. Korkai is at the southern tip. This is Korkai. Korkai was also very important. Korkai is known because it is located in such a way that you can go and fish pearls. For the pearl fisheries, मोतियों के लिए, समुद्र के मोती, it was the global center at that time. The pearls from Korkai then came to the capital of Pandyas, that is Madurai. Madurai became the pearl capital for market. And when Kharavela attacked South India, as per Hathi Gumfa inscription, he says, I attacked South India and I brought pearls from Madurai. वो बस बोल रहा है कि मैंने मदुरै से मोती लाए, अब छीन के लाए, मारकाट करके लाए, वो उसने बताया नहीं है वो मारकाट के लाए होंगे, ठीक है. But and why would the pearls there be in Madurai? Because they came from possibly Korkai. Then some important kings. Again, these kings are beyond our requirement, but I have mentioned some kings off chance कोई सवाल कभी UPSC पूछ ले. You should know at least names. We have Udayinjaral, who is one famous Chera king. Then we have Nendunjaral. Nendunjaral mentions that मेरा साम्राज्य इतना बड़ा है वो हिमालय तक पहुंचा. It is not possible. Not possible. But स्टोरी भी है पत्नी की, पत्नी जाते, सब कहानियां वहां पे है, कन्नगी वगैरह. बट पॉइंट इज दैट at least we can say that Tamilian people were aware of the geographical boundary of India. This argument is given by many people कि भाई Tamilian were aware of India's expanse. और चक्रवर्ती क्षेत्र की आइडिया जो ऊपर कौटिल्य बोल रहा है, वो तो ये बोल रहा है हिमालय तक गए. कौटिल्य भी वही बोला, जम्बू द्वीप कहां से कहां तक है, यहां से यहां तक है. So even though we do not have political unity in India, at least at some kind of cultural, conceptual, conscious level, what is the meaning of India? That is already clear to Indians. May it be Tamil, may it be Magad. Okay. So you have that. Then you have Senguttuvan. He was the greatest one. And started with Patini. Patini मतलब देवी है, कन्नगी के बाद आती है and पूजा होती है. Simple. Then you have Chola king. The first famous is Ellara, right? Ellara. He is the very old one. He seems to have even captured Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, then he went there, he died there only. There we have a place called Dakshina Stupa there today, which is his tomb. He is also politically very divisive in Sri Lanka today. Yes.
But they are one.
Oh, do not confuse that. See. Okay, let me make one very basic, give one very basic clarity that let us say this is a timeline of South India. Okay, you have, forget about the prehistoric era, megalith, etc. वो पहले आपका हो गया. Then you have Sangam age. There's a certain gap. We don't know what happened there. We have Pallava age. In Pallava age, again, in between you have early Pallavas, later Pallavas. In between you have again here gap of a century or so, Kalabra revolt. So Kalabra revolt. Again, we don't know what happened. It's a black age of a few decades. After that, here we have Cholas. So these Cholas are called imperial Cholas. Raja, Rajendra, Aditya, Parantaka, Kulotunga first, Kulotunga second, Kulottunga third, all of them, Vijayalaya, come from this Chola. They are imperial Cholas. When we study that they attacked Southeast Asia, they built huge, massive temples, they are the Cholas. They are different ones. Right now, we are talking about Sangam age. It has Chera, it has also Chola, it has Pandya, and if you go by the inscription of Ashoka, there is a fourth category called Satyaputra. But who are Satyaputra, we do not know. They have not been yet identified, Satyaputras. But they are mentioned in Ashokan edicts. So these Cholas are different and these Cholas are different. Although these Cholas claimed कि हम इनके वंशज हैं, सच में है, कितने हैं, क्या है, we cannot prove. Okay. Confusion gone? Yeah. Okay. So Ellara is there. Then we have the most important and the most popular at that time is Karikala or Karigala. Kari? How to pronounce that? Karikalan. No. Ask him. Tamil pronunciation. Karikala. Karikala. Pronunciation बहुत important है दुनिया में, देखो, है ना? वेदों ने कहा है राजपुत्र इंद्र शत्रु, बोला था मैंने. ठीक है. तो करिगाड़, he had many heroic exploits to his name. Battle of Vanni is very famous, जहाँ पे वो जीत गया था. Then he founded the port of Pumpuhar और कावेरी पत्तनम और पुहार. Embankment on Kaveri River, which Sri Lankan slaves, he captured Sri Lanka, slaves लेके आया था. And on the bank of Kaveri he built embankment. Embankment डैम बनाया उसने. तमिलनाडु में डैम नदियों के ऊपर बनाने की बड़ी पुरानी परंपरा, सदियों से वो डैम बना रहे हैं. इवन टुडे for more than 1000 years we have the existence of those dams, embankments. ठीक है. And then one dam still exists, Kalinai Dam, right? Now वो बाद में रिपेयर किया गया बार बार different story, but it is still there. तो irrigation, king and water are always connected. अब पूरे भारतवर्ष में पानी का दान सबसे बड़ा दान माना गया है. ठीक है. We'll not go into stories there. We have one more king, Nindunjalian of Pandyas. He is very famous for some battle. Megasthenes ने एक जगह कमेंट दिया है and we try to connect it there. He says about Pandya country कि इनकी औरतें जो होती है वो युद्ध करती है. Female warriors are there. He says the pearls of South Pandya region are very popular, and he also says there is an embassy. Now this is an interesting thing. Not only Megasthenes but many later Roman commentators have also written about it. कि एक बार दक्षिण भारत से पांड्या टेरिटरी से एक एम्बेसी आई थी रोम शहर में, और बहुत लोग थे, और उसमें वो जिस काम से आई हो, राजा से मिलने, व्यापार करने, वी डोंट नो, बट इन दैट वन थिंग हैपन. उसमें से एक आदमी था, वन ऑफ द एम्बेसडर्स देयर, ऑन द भरे चौराहे पे, भरे रास्ते पे, ऑन द स्ट्रीट्स ऑफ रोम, ही बर्न्ड हिमसेल्फ लाइव. मर गया, खुद को जला दिया उसने, और पूरा शहर हक्का बक्का रह गया. क्या हुआ? Roman people had never seen anybody burning himself alive. तो उनके मेमोरी में ये सीयर्ड है, उनके सदियों तक वो बातें कर. इंडिया से पांड्या से एम्बेसी आई थी. Now why he burnt himself alive? Was he following some kind of cult? We'd have no idea what happened. The embassy is not even mentioned in our literature at all. हम क्या करें, हम लिखते ही नहीं थे इतना ज्यादा, but it is there. ठीक है. But what we can say कि भाई जब पांड्या साउथ में है, नॉर्थ में कुषाण है, contemporary, and Kushanas are having important Silk Route trade with Roman Empire. Pandyas also have important oceanic trade with Roman Empire. In between, Satavahanas also have important oceanic Roman Empire. तो रोमन एम्पायर से हम बहुत घनिष्ठ जुड़े हुए थे व्यापार के लिए. Contemporary. हाँ, that is about the polity. No, the point is that Megasthenes ने कमेंट की, ऐसे किसी और ने कमेंट की है ना. ओरिजिनल बुक इज लॉस्ट एनीवे. सो द एरियन, स्ट्रैबो, डियोडोरस, उसमें से किसी ने लिखा होगा उसके नाम से. No, we don't know. Although we know from other sources कि थे वो, क्योंकि अशोक खुद बोलता है चेरा चोड़ा पांड्य तो होंगे. But Megasthenes की कमेंट is no, cannot be dated. That is true. Online, do we have any doubt? Any query? कोई शक? ठीक है. So let us move on. Social classification. Initially, Sangama society was horizontally divided. Why horizontally? We have 5 T9s. So I presume कि समाज उसी तरह बटा हुआ था. So some people are living on the hills. Some people are pastoralists. Some are agriculturalists. Some are coastal shipping. क्या बोलते हैं उसको, कोस्टल फिशरमैन्स, एंड सम आर डिजर्ट पीपल. नाउ इन एरिया में देयर इज नो हायरार्की. दीज आर हॉरिजॉन्टल डिवीजन. दे आर इक्वल बट इन डिफरेंट रीजन्स. देयर इज नो वर्टिकल हायरार्की. हाउएवर these divisions were not clearly demarcated and were scattered all around the region. Gradually, in the Sangam era itself, you see Varna system emerging. So how did North Indian Varna reach South India? Because people migrated. व्यापार दक्षिण पथ बन गया था धीरे धीरे. So in Sangam era itself, you start seeing Aryan influence. Now that is a debatable point again, a very hugely politically sensitive issue in India. Dravidian would say, एकदम staunch Dravidian. In Sangam era, we are pure Dravidian. Well, it is nonsense. There is some element of northern influence in Sangam literature itself. 1/3 of the Sangam poets are Brahmins. अब बताओ. No doubt. You look at the social custom gradually, marriage and other things. You will see gradually Aryanization of Dravidian region has already started. But we have to also agree. Look at the core of Sangam society. It still is purely Dravidian. The Aryan elements have recently started to come in. There is awareness of North India. There is some len-den, some influence. Ramayana, Mahabharata भी mentioned है उसमें. No doubt, it is mentioned. पांड्या also says कि भाई पांड्या राजे इतने बेहतर क्यों है? पांड्या बोलते हैं क्योंकि जब महाभारत का युद्ध हुआ था, कुरुक्षेत्र में युद्ध होने से एक दिन पहले शाम में हम गए थे और हमने दोनों तरफ के घोड़ों को खाना खिलाया, इसलिए हम बढ़िया आए. अब ये बात मतलब देखो, गए थे नहीं गए थे, युद्ध हुआ था, बात पॉइंट है कि दे वांट टू कनेक्ट देमसेल्फ टू द एपिक ट्रेडिशन ऑफ इंडिया, ताकि हम भी एक स्टेटस में प्राप्त हो. तो रामायण महाभारत का अवेयरनेस भी साउथ में इन द संगम एरा इटसेल्फ है. येट द कोर ऑफ द सिविलाइजेशन एट दैट टाइम इज नॉट आर्यन. एक्चुअली इट हैज लेन एंड देन, बट द कोर इज द्रविडियन. ठीक है. Therefore, the society originally was horizontally divided, but you see influence of North coming, so Varna system is now emerging in South. So unlike North India, only two-fold division. लेकिन हुआ क्या? You see, these are the 5 people. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. System is horizontal in Tamil Nadu originally. In Brahmana came. North में कैसी system थी? नॉर्थ में ऐसे है, ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय शूद्र वैश्य. बट व्हेन ब्राह्मण्स वेंट टू साउथ, व्हाट डिड दे डू? दे जस्ट पुट देमसेल्फ ऑन टॉप ऑफ इट. So you have Brahmins and all of them are non-Brahmins. So it became even more complicated in South. ठीक है. So that is why I said you have Brahmins and non-Brahmins. Brahmins enjoyed the supreme position even there, no doubt. So Tamil kings sometimes claim Brahmin status. They also held important government offices in the royal society. The priestly class among them was rewarded heavily by the kings and the society at large with elaborate gifts. इतनी अच्छी कविता करो मेरे नाम पे, मैं आपको और जान दूंगा. What is संगम पोएट्री? दान स्तुति जो वेदों के अंदर है. इतनी राजा की बढ़त करूंगा बढ़िया से, उतना राजा. उस जमाने में सोशल मीडिया तो है नहीं, इंटरनेट है नहीं, तो हाउ कैन द किंग विल बिकम पॉपुलर? हाउ विल द किंग बिकम पॉपुलर? द पीपल हु कैन दे राइट गुड पोएट्री, दे स्प्रेड पोएट्री अक्रॉस. तो पोएट आजा, पैसे ले ले, कविता कर मेरे नाम से. पोएट बोलेगा अच्छा पैसे दे दे, बढ़िया कविता करता हूं. सो संगम पोएट्स आर आल्सो डूइंग बिजनेस. येट इतना भी लालची नहीं है कि भाई जो राजा कैसे भी हो, जो कुछ हो, मैं बस बढ़त. ऐसे नहीं. देयर आर सम संगम पोएट्स हु गिव वार्निंग टू द किंग्स. जैसे एक पोएट है, उसका कोई पैटर्न होगा, कोई छोटा सरदार होगा. एक बड़ा सरदार बोलेगा भाई तू बड़ी अच्छी कविता करता है, मेरे तरफ आ जा, मेरी कविता कर. तो ये बोलेगा नहीं, मैं इसका नमक खाया हूं, मैं नहीं आऊंगा, भले आप कितने सोने चांदी दे दो, मैं नहीं आऊंगा. ये भी हमने देखा है. आगे जाके कई बार कविता में ऐसे भी कि हे राजा ये बात मत करना गलत, तू ये करेगा तो पछताएगा, ये समाज के लिए अच्छा नहीं है. उस तरह की वार्निंग भी संगम पोएट्स ने दी हुई है. बट such instances are relatively less. Majority क्या है? दान ले लो, कविता करो. ठीक है. Anyway, their importance increased, the Brahmins' importance increased with the growing popularity of large-scale Vedic rituals and yajnas. They control education and religious institutions. Unlike North India, there was no taboo against the consumption of alcohol or meat. Society थोड़ी खुली ज्यादा है साउथ में. ठीक है. Then, apart from Varna system emerging, there was also a system of Kuti or Kudi. It exists even today. Different clan groups are in society. So that also adds even more complexity to society. There is social division as well. Sangam society was also divided on the basis of occupation, such as artisans, salt merchants, textile merchants. जिसका अलग अलग व्यापार है, उसका अलग अलग ग्रुप बना हुआ है. Even beyond that, Tulkappiyam has said there are 4 castes, मतलब 4 groups. कौन से कास्ट में? आरसार, अंतनार, वनिगार, वेलल्लार. इसको आपको रटना है. Especially वेलल्लार, everybody knows, rich agriculturalists. तो ठीक है, these are the groups as per Tulkapiyam. Then there is also slavery. They are called Adimai or Adimai. Slaves are called Adimai. Society had a complex class structure as well. जो अमीर होगा बड़े घर में रहेगा, बढ़िया कपड़े पहनेगा. That also tells you, because how do you know बड़ा घर था, बड़े कपड़े सुंदर थे? Based on poetical description, right? So we get to know there is rich and poor as well. This is about social structure in normal things. कोई नई बात नहीं, बस शब्द नए हैं, बात वही है. But when you come to next thing, it is very unique to South India. Warrior ethic. Warrior ethic is a very distinctive element of Sangam society. सबको योद्धा बन, क्षत्रिय. There is no concept of Kshatriya at that time in South India, but everybody wants to become. समाज में जो योद्धा है उसकी अधिक इज्जत है. Simple. Why? There is no army, there is no police as such which can give protection to every village. हर village अपना अपना देखे. अब cattle raids होते हैं, बगल का व्यापार, बगल का आता है आप पर हमला कर. You have to defend your village, you have to attack neighboring village. तो ये सब करोगे तो भाई हर जितना विलेज में अधिक युवा लोग होंगे लड़ पाएंगे उतना अच्छा है. हर एक के हाथ में अपनी जिंदगी है. तो वॉरियर एथिक्स वेर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. दोज हु वेर ग्रेट वॉरियर्स इवन इन द आर्मी ऑफ द किंग्स दे गॉट ग्लोरी एंड फेम. और जो रणभूमि पे मरेगा, द वन हु डाइज ऑन द बैटलफील्ड इज सपोज्ड टू गेट हेवन. और उसकी बहुत ज्यादा बाद में वाह वाह होगी. वहां पे इन साउथ इंडिया, इन डेक्कन ऑल्सो, नॉट इन साउथ बट वी आर टॉकिंग इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ साउथ नाउ, तो बात कर रहे हैं. बट दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग इज देयर इन एंटायर डेक्कन ऑल्सो. They are called hero stones. वीरगढ़, नातुगढ़, उसके अलग अलग नाम होते हैं. छाया स्तंभ, कीर्ति स्तंभ नॉर्थ में है अलग से, ये छाया स्तंभ है. इसमें क्या होता है? जो हीरो अपने गांव की रक्षा के लिए मर गया, somebody who has died in the defense of the village, he will be remembered with such sculpture. So their scenes are there. The person is a hero, is fighting a war. Then he is dead, he is going to the heaven with apsaras. He goes to the heaven, there is Shivalinga, he does just puja of Shiva. For how long does he do puja? हमेशा के लिए. How do you know हमेशा के लिए? सूरज और चांद, जब तक सूरज चांद रहेगा. आ चंद्र सूर्य. So this is called Veeragala. It is in 3 panels, but Tamilian Veeragals were not in 3 panels. They were in single panel, single. I have purposefully got a Veeragala from Karnataka because Karnataka Veeragals are known to have 3 panels. But I just wanted to explain the concept. The point is such hero stones are found across Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra, Tamil Nadu. हर गांव में लोग मरे हुए रक्षा के लिए गांव के सदियों तक. तो you as a child, बचपन में जो गांव में बड़े होते हो, आपके मंदिर के बाहर 10-15 वीरगढ़ पड़े हुए. ये मेरे चाचा का है, ये मेरे 5 पुश्तैन पहले ये मरा था यहाँ पे गांव की रक्षा के लिए. जंगल में जाओ नदी किनारे, वहां पे और 50 वीरगढ़ पड़े हुए. तो हर एक के जहन में वो वीरगढ़ घुसता है कि मैं भी एक दिन मरूंगा, पत्थर बनूंगा. आई शुड बी, और मेरे बाद जो लोग आएंगे मुझे ऐसे याद करेंगे. तो एवरीबडी वांट्स टू हैव दैट हीरोज डेथ. रणगाथा खुद को सबको चाहिए. तो तमिलियन सोसाइटी इज नोन टू बी सोसाइटी ऑफ वॉरियर्स. डेथ रिचुअल्स, कटिंग बॉडी विथ मार्क्स टू सिमुलेट. मतलब अगर कोई वीर योद्धा है और बेचारा इतना अच्छा योद्धा है, ही इज सच अ ग्रेट वॉरियर दैट ही डजंट डाई ऑन द बैटलफील्ड, ही डाइज ऑफ ओल्ड एज. उसकी क्या गलती है? Because he has not died on the battlefield, he will not go to heaven. ना, उसकी डेड बॉडी ले लो, उसको ऐसे काटो लगे कि रणभूमि में मरा हुआ है, ताकि जब यमराज आएगा he will be fooled, he will take them to heaven. तो इस हद तक वो कल्चर ऑफ हीरो वहां पे है. तो जब ब्रिटिश इंडिया में आए, when British came to India, they said that there are some martial communities, Rajput, Gorkha, Sikh, they can fight. Madrasi, Bengali, they cannot fight. Such a BS, nonsense. In India, every region and every community has had the tradition of martial arts and valor and heroism. Heroism कोई एक कास्ट की जागीर नहीं है भारत में. शुरू से हर कम्युनिटी ने योद्धा प्रोड्यूस किए हैं. आप ब्राह्मण हो, क्षत्रिय हो, वैश्य, शूद्र, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. ठीक है, बट अपनी हिस्ट्री बहुत डिस्टॉर्ट हो गई है पिछले 200 साल में. क्या करें? चलो आगे चलते हैं. स्टेटस ऑफ वुमेन. क्या बेटर हो गया? बेटर हो गया, हाँ, रिलेटिवली अच्छा था, दैट इज ट्रू. See, whenever there is less importance given to Varna system, women will be better. जब भी वर्ण सिस्टम स्ट्रांग होगा, जाति पद्धति स्ट्रांग होगी कि मैं इस जाति का हूं, हमारी परंपरा, जैसे ये भाषा आएगी, औरतें दबी जाएगी. इंडिया में कहा जाता है, थियरी ऑल्सो इन सोशियोलॉजी, लॉट ऑफ पीपल से दैट पैट्रियार्की एंड कास्ट विल गो टुगेदर, यू हैव टू फाइट बोथ ऑफ देम एट द सेम टाइम. एनीवे, so status of women, overall the position of women was better than their North Indian counterparts. They used to get education. We have many women poets. So Sangam poets, some of them were women. We have their names also. Then women, numerous references doing a variety of work. If you go to Paripatal, if you go to other books, you see them being engaged in variety of economic activities. ठीक है सर, पक्का. So it means they take part in the production process as well. They are not confined only to domestic work. Then love marriage was common and women were allowed to choose their life partners. ये तो नॉर्थ में वैदिक era देखा, samana, if you remember, SAMANA, samana. Then courage of women was also appreciated in many poems. वो भी लड़ती भी थी, योद्धा भी थी. Even not in this era, come 1000 years later, in 12th and 13th century, in Karnataka we have many Gavundis. Gavundi मतलब जो गांव की रक्षा करती है, गांव की मतलब सरपंच, गावंडी बोलते थे उसको. वो गावंडी हैड लेड देयर लाइफ डाउन टू प्रोटेक्ट द विलेजेस. घोड़े पे जाकर तलवार लेके लड़ना बड़ा आम काम था औरतों का, इसके 1000 साल बाद तक भी. एनीवे, अ क्लास ऑफ वुमेन डांसर्स वाज पैट्रोनाइज्ड बाय द किंग्स एंड नोबल्स. ठीक है. हाउएवर, एलिमेंट्स ऑफ डिक्लाइन हैड ऑलरेडी स्टार्टेड बिकमिंग विजिबल. कन्नगी कल्ट ग्लोरीफाइड द आइडियल ऑफ ब्यूटीफुल वाइफ. डोमेस्टिसिटी का नॉर्म इनकलकेट करने की कोशिश करी कन्नगी कल्ट ने. Then you have Karpu or chaste wife was considered as the highest virtue of woman. Then the practice of sati called Tippayadal was prevalent in the society. However, the position of women was miserable as they were prohibited to decorate themselves or participate in any form of the amusement. So ये धीरे धीरे संगम एज के एंड में आते आते डिक्लाइन शुरू हो गया था. Ananku was the magical element. Now UPSC asked a question about this, not directly but indirectly. Ananku is like भूत प्रेत type, जो औरतों को बाधा करता है. So you have such kind of superstitious elements also in Sangam literature. So what UPSC asked, is Sangam literature completely rational? Obviously it is not rational. We have some superstitious, irrational elements also. Okay. Then the literary culture was very vibrant. That is obvious because the moment you have such sangams, the existence of sangams themselves show people are educated in such conventions. It means they get good education, there is good literature. The term that they use for colleges is called Katikai. It comes from Sanskrit word Ghatika. So there were colleges also for studies. मतलब not आज की तरह कॉलेज बट हायर स्टडीज. देन funerary practices is a diversity. लोगों को burial practices of variety of type, urn burial, cremation, exposure to the animals and birds, etc. It shows there is diversity of practices.